So it looks like about 90% of us. And see, this is the first thing with what happens with love. And I think I posted this earlier today, that if you don't learn how to love yourself, someone will teach you how to hate yourself. And then you'll confuse the two. And see, what happens is that all of us have been hurt at some point in our life. And it maybe was a father that hurt us, or a mother that hurt us, or it was a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife. And we were hurt, and we took that pain and we internalized that pain. And then we carried that pain. Because see, when you feel that pain and you hold on to that pain and you think about that pain, you feed that pain gets stronger. It gets stronger and it grows. And so now when you leave one relationship and you go into the next relationship, if in the middle you didn't get new knowledge, if you didn't identify with that pain, and if you didn't begin to work through that pain, you take that pain into the new relationship, and the next person has to pay the price for the last person. And so we go into a relationship half empty, and we expect somebody to fill us up. But we expect them to fill us up, but we don't let them fill us up. And so when they try, we end up sabotaging the relationship. So if you got cheated on and you move to your next relationship, you could be sitting next to your new partner and they get a phone call and it says mom. But your last partner had the girlfriend as mom. So now with this new person having done anything wrong, who is mom? I bet. Let me see your phone. And see, we take that pain. So the first thing what we have to do in the process of loving yourself is healing. You have to heal before you deal. And in order to heal, you have to get new knowledge, meaning that you have to look at that relationship and you have to break it down, and you have to allow yourself to believe and to know that what you had wasn't real love. See, a lot of times we can't heal because we think that what we had was real love, when in fact we have a soul tie. And see, the soul tie is, how many ever heard of soul tie? And see, the soul tie, it's almost like a twisted bond, if you think of it, and especially when you've been sexually active, when you lay down with somebody. When you think about the process of having a child, it's almost like two souls come together, and then you create a third one. And so if you've been sexually active, there's this transfer of spirits. You into them, them into you. You give a piece of yourself to them, they give a piece of themselves to you. So think about every relationship that you've been in, you've given a piece of yourself away. So when you finally get to meet somebody who can love you, you have none of you left to give. And so you get into this relationship, and where communication, trust, and honesty should be like oxygen to life, you find yourself suffocating. And you suffocate and you sabotage the new relationship. So when you get this new knowledge, you realize that what I had wasn't love, because real love doesn't hurt. Real love doesn't leave. And you have to realize that just because you love them doesn't mean they loved you back. Just because you love them doesn't mean they loved you back. And this is where we confuse it and we say, I know I had real love. Yes, you had real love for them. But your relationship was not comprised of love, because they didn't love you back. Because if they would have loved you back, they wouldn't have cheated on you, they wouldn't have beat on you, they wouldn't have caused you to leave, nor would they have left you unless you ran them off by not loving them. And see, this is what we have to do. We have to put it in a box. And once we put it in this box, now it allows us to shake everything off and move forward, realizing, you know what? I've been living and I've been lying to myself, and I haven't had real love. So I need to heal and open up so that I can attract real love and I can accept this love. That's what we have to do. But see, we hold on and we look back and we think about it and we contemplate and we carry it, and those thoughts determine our actions, and our actions determine our life. But see, when you look back and you put it in that box and you begin to break this soul tie, what you have to do is you have to cut all ties. Now see, it's a little tough here on the island, I bet. You try to break up with somebody and you bump into them every day. And then you trying to leave and you trying to heal, but all their sisters and brothers know you. And their family and their friends calling you. And you got mutual friends. Well, see, when you cut all ties, you're going to have to block them on Facebook, block them on Twitter, block them on social media, get a new phone number or block their number. And then you're going to have to separate. You're going to have to call their mom, call their sister, call their brother, and say, look, I love you like my own, but I need to heal. I need some time because when I talk to you, I think of them. So I need some time. And if you love me, if you care for me, the way you say you do, then give me this time to heal. How many of you have ever done that exact thing, what I just said? We got 3 people, 4 people. And see, that's the thing. And that's why so many relationships break down, because you could take and you can do that. You can heal, but then you meet somebody who they haven't healed. And so now they take and disrupt your peace and happiness, because misery loves company. And now they bring their misery to your happiness, and then because you're loving them and you allow love to happen, the next thing you know, you don't want to leave them because you love them. And you stay there and it just gets miserable and miserable and miserable. So see, identify your pain points tonight. Identify your pain points and remember where you have to change at. Now anybody can admit, anybody in here, who in here not shy? We got anybody not shy? I need a little example. I need some examples. Because I want to paint a picture, because I want us to understand, so that if somebody can identify this, then maybe it'll help everybody else identify it. So let me ask you, when you look back to your childhood, is there something you saw in your home, in relationships or in your family relationships, that you took into your adult relationship that you later learned wasn't healthy for a relationship?
Sure, I did. I saw my mother was abused by my stepfather, and I always said that I was never going to let a man do that to me or let a man talk to me any type of way. So I was very independent. I wasn't married, and my ex-husband didn't like the fact that I was very independent. So, it was hard to me to be submissive. But I know if I was going to be submissive, it had to be to me, it had to be submitting to something that was loving, and I felt it wasn't there.
Right. Now, anything that you saw that you took into your adult relationships that you shouldn't have, that was counterproductive?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but I can't pinpoint. Maybe the same thing, just being very independent, being very independent. And not being, submissive to certain things, just being chill.
What about you? Anything you saw growing up that you realized as an adult that you were doing those same things, but it comes from your childhood?
But I was thinking of it in the reverse, like things that I saw at home that I should have done as an adult but did not do, and didn't come to the realization until much later, after lots of pain to get there, that this is what I should have been doing all along. Okay, for instance, I come from a very religious family, and I did my share of clubbing and dancing and having a good time. And mind you, that's nothing wrong with doing that, because I still enjoy it. But I was really getting away from my spiritual side, and I've really pulled myself back there now. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So when I say you have to identify your pain points, you have to begin now to identify the lessons that you learned growing up and what that taught you about life and about love. Got any men in here? Any men in the house? not afraid to say anything. Now he wanna raise his hand in the very back. I got to cross over. Because see, we pick up lessons along the way. Now see, as a man, let me ask you, what was your idea growing up? Did you grow up in Bermuda?
Yeah.
So growing up in Bermuda, when you look around at the men, you know, father, grandfather, uncle, and men you didn't know, what did it teach you about manhood, and were there some misconceptions or some things that you found out later that wasn't what a man really is? Or
Okay, this is kind of interesting. I grew up in a single parent home with my mother, beautiful woman. Now, if I relate things to my grandfather, you know, great husband, you know, great father, worked as a police officer. But if I relate it to my mother's boyfriend, he liked to do a pack, you know, cheated on her, done a whole lot of things. However, you know, my mama, she's a very rambunctious woman. I mean, yeah, she'd be throwing bottles, doing the whole 9 yards. But, you know, for him, he always told me, you know, a man is only as good as his word. And so he never hit her. He said one day, I'm seeing her spit on him. Like this when she was a rebel, spit on him, you know, literally cutting him with everything in the kitchen. But, you know, he said, I would never hit a woman. And so, you know, for as much garbage as he did, I respected the fact that, you know, he was a man of his word, you know. On the flip side, what I will say, growing up, I saw my mother, whenever she dealt with a situation with a man, you know, she was always very quiet. Even when she was pissed at me and my brother, she'd be very quiet. However, as a man, you know, growing up, trying to do that same thing with women, that's not gonna work, especially when you have to be the one that has to communicate everything first. One thing that I did see growing up that was very useful as a man, you know, is always being quick to communicate. You know, even if you don't have everything 100% laid out, you know, is you taking that first step and saying, okay, baby, we need to sit down, we need to have a talk. You know, just get it out there. Because if it's not put out there, you know, it's going to be a lot of, does he, does she? And, you know, we don't need to play these guessing games because women go off to Pluto and men, you know, we're going off to Mars if we let things run. So, yeah, that's what I was saying.
that's good. That's good. Now, I still ain't heard. Now, we got some brothers over here. I don't know. Now, y'all from Bermuda? Y'all raised in Bermuda? Single? Single brothers? Married? Single? Married? Committed? Okay. Single, married, and committed. Scouting. He's scouting the potential. No, but I want to hear something from a man. On maybe one of y'all can speak to this. Something that you saw men doing when you were growing up, that as an adult you realized that you emulated it, but you realized it wasn't healthy for a relationship. Any example? You got one?
Womanizing. Like just not having respect.
You saw that?
Yeah, I saw it a lot. Yeah, my father, uncles, cousins. You know, said carrot going forward.
And did you womanize?
I had my share. I had my share of ignorance.
And now, when you had that share, how would the women react? Would they stay? Would they leave? Would they just cry and then you make up to them?
All of the above.
That's good. Now, see, I want us to think back about this, and I'll give you a personal example. I realize I'm doing this for a reason, and it might be me that needs to articulate this to paint the picture. But he said he saw womanizing. When I grew up, and I think a lot of men have this experience, but a lot of times we don't pinpoint it and we can't articulate it. And I think a lot of women have the equal experience, but just on the other side. And so for the man, a lot of times we see the womanizing. We see our father or our uncle or brothers or whoever cheating. Or we see the man that all he wants to do is go to work, come home, lay down and watch TV, and, you know, show the woman no affection, and then he wants sex on demand. And he wants to make love to her body, but he hasn't taken the time to make love to her mind. And then sometimes on the other side, we see the woman who, like he said, the gentleman said his mother was rambunctious. My mother was like that. You know, I used to see my mom chasing my dad around the house with a broom. you know. And so you have that type of woman, and then you have the other type of woman who she's getting cheated on, she's getting lied to, and she just holds it in. And she needs to iron all the clothes, wash all the dishes, cook all the food, and take care of the household, but she knows she's being lied to. She knows she's being cheated on. She knows she's being taken advantage of, but she's just quiet. And see, we hear these things or we see these things, and then we grow up and we bring it into our relationship. And we think this is love. So we think this is normal. We think this is what it is. And this is where tonight you have to start to look back into your past, because see, the makeup of a person is their history and their biography. So when you look back at your past and you see what you learned, because see, I thought, because of the way I grew up, I thought that being a man means that you control and that you rule with an iron fist. That it's your way or the highway. And if a woman don't like it, she can kick rocks and you're going to have her replaced by the next day. Because that is what the men were doing. And that if she got too loud, you got to slap her and put her in her place. You got to show her who's the man. And then on the other side, you look at, you know, the women, and you just assume that whatever you do to a woman, if you just make up, you're in the doghouse, you get some flowers, you hug, you kiss, you're going to be out of the doghouse. And that she's going to put up with it. She's going to deal with it. And that when you want something from her, she's going to give you her body. And so when I brought those behaviors into a relationship, I realized those didn't go over too well. That it didn't create happiness and peace. It created turmoil and a lot of pain, a lot of arguing, a lot of tears, a lot of fussing, a lot of fighting. So I got to this point, I was probably 21 years old, and I was in a toxic relationship, and I had to look back at my life and realize that everything I thought love was, it actually wasn't. And that what I thought was a man wasn't a man. That was a grown boy. A grown boy trapped in an adult body looking for a teddy bear. But because he can't carry a teddy bear, because I couldn't carry a teddy bear, I wanted a woman to be my human teddy bear. And then what I realized is that there was the women that I were meeting, as soon as I met them, if I said a couple things right, we were in the bed. And they were giving their body to me. And I had done nothing to earn her body, because her body represented everything. It represented her heart, her mind, the way she loved herself, the way she treated herself. And so sex just became so casual in our society. And the younger women was harder to get than the older women. So the 20-year-olds, you had to work for a week. The 35, 40-year-olds, hey, let's get this on. I'm like, whoa. When I started dealing with the older women, it was fast. I'm like, man, I guess she just know what she wants. She done had enough of this junk. She just gonna get it in. And I was like, wow. And so what happened is, I saw all these misconceptions of love, not knowing what it was. And then I met a woman who I know she was divinely placed in my life, because she was so young. She was 19. There's no possible way she could have knew love, you know, in the sense of knowing love. But she would not compromise her body, and she would not compromise her mind, and she would not compromise her self-worth and her self-respect. And by her not compromising and me seeing her value and her worth, because she was different from every other woman that I had met, it pushed me to be a better man. Because I said, if I want to keep her, I have to change. And that's when I realized, I said, you know what, this is how Eve got Adam to bite that apple. See, I realized that in our world, in the structure, men have power, but women have influence. And it depends on how you use that influence. When you look at the person in charge, let's say it's a man, and let's say he's running a country and he passes a law or he orchestrates something, you never know how much of what he's doing is because of his wife. and what she whispered to him in bed the night before. You know, you ought to do this. And he wake up the next morning, you know, I got a great idea. See, women have influence. But see, what has happened is that we've come to a place to where we suppress our influence. Sometimes it's the man, sometimes it's the woman. And I've been meeting both lately in coaching. I coach every day, all day. And lately I've been meeting the man who has met this woman who's had to be so strong and so, you know, such a provider that the man has just shut down. I was just shooting a pilot for a TV show, and this was the case, to where he had this man who wanted to be a man, but the woman, she talked so much, and she had so much to say that it stripped him of his manhood, and he just shut down. He just shut up. And then you see it on the other side, to where the man feels like, I run this, I call all the shots, I'm the man, you the woman, I'm the head, you the tail, and then the woman just shuts down. And she stops. She stops loving. She stops giving. And you see, the fact that we have 90% of this happening in our relationships, this is